Welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Mike Gale, Kevin Jank.
Hey, I'm here. I made it.
No quote? No, little bit?
I got nothing this time.
All right. Fair enough. I mean, a little disappointing. I'm sure the kids at the orphanage are going to be sad, but hey, whatever. So, what did you pick this week, Jank, for everyone to read?
Yeah, I picked an exciting comic book called Death's Head, issue number 7 from 1989. This has been on my list for a while. Always something I've seen this character around, thought he looks really cool. Never really knew much about him. Last week we did Jack of Hearts, which is kind of, a space-related character that I also kind of have seen but don't know a whole lot about. So figured this was a good time to go down that route. And especially after doing Judge Dredd, which was another, very popular British character, figured maybe it was time to do some Marvel UK and kind of take a look at that whole world that I'm very unfamiliar with.
Now, when you brought this character up last week, I said, I think this might have something to do with the Transformers. But neither one of us were quite sure about that. But that is exactly right. This character started in Transformers UK. And because I have a vague recollection when I was a kid of seeing it tied into the Transformers somehow. But I had never read any Death's Head. I did have it on my list of potential books to read that I made years ago, and we never got around to it. So I guess I'm glad we're getting it out of the way.
I mean, I'm quite glad.
Oh, really?
I had
quite
a good
glad.
Time.
All right.
Yeah.
That makes one of us. All right. So, hey, before we get into the story, though, let's remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Up to 55 subscribers, Jay.
Woo.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Taking over the world. And
the fleas are biting.
And Jank started an Instagram. You can go find us on Instagram. Just moments before the show, I started a TikTok for Flea Market Fantasy.
Oh, we're expanding into all the markets.
That's right. Taking
Soon
over.
We'll have flyers up all over town.
And please leave comments of what you think of Death's Head. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment. We'll be sure to respond. Because I know Jank loves...
You have a bone to pick with Mike Dell's choices for the top Avengers covers of the 80s. Leave a comment down below.
I put up little shorts, and one of them was top Avengers covers of the 1980s. And apparently, before the show, Jank was telling me he doesn't agree with my choices. We'll have to talk about that.
Yep.
Anyway, all right, let's get back to Death's Head. He's like a robot bounty hunter. That's basically what he is. Although
to sum it all up very succinctly, I think that's it.
That's the easiest way to get to this because it is a very convoluted backstory. We'll get into it in a minute. But yeah, he's a robot bounty hunter, although he prefers the term freelance peacekeeping agent. That's what he likes to call himself. But his first appearance was in Transformers UK, issue 113 in May of 1987, and he is created by Simon Furman and Jeff Senior. And the creators for the book we're reading today are Simon Furman, but the artist is Bryan Hitch.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about them later. But this Death's Head fella, he comes from the Sterikos dimension. Styrakos. Sterikos dimension. And he was basically a robot body for a fella called Lupex.
Yeah.
He was like an evil magician / scientist. He's basically this dimension's Dr. Doom when you think about it that way.
Okay. Yeah. This was a Transformers villain?
No.
Okay.
This is why this gets very weird. I think this backstory was added later, after his first appearance. So this Lupex fella, he is this powerful magician, but his life force was so powerful it ate up his body.
Ooh, burned him out, yeah.
Yeah. He always had to put his life energy into other bodies, host bodies, but he would always burn out those bodies. So he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make me one of them robots, and then I'll have a lifetime body. So he made the Death's Head robot out of with technology and magic. Here's a problem though, Jank. He had an apprentice named Pyra, and she really was kind of sneaky. She was kind of his apprentice / lover, I guess. He wasn't the best looking fella. So she was just doing this to try and get his magical secrets and his technology. But on the side, she had her own lover. You understand? And this guy's name was Clue. Klu. But when Lupex found out about this, he killed Clue.
Uh-oh.
He was all angry and jealous. So Pyra, to get back at him, she reprogrammed the Death's Head robot and gave it his own personality.
Yeah.
Because she wanted it to fight Lupex and get revenge on Lupex for killing her lover. But here's the tricky part, because before she could get revenge with the robot, the Death's Head robot was stolen by unknown parties. Now, I've checked several sources for this, the Wikipedia and all kind of other pages. I want to know what parties stole the robot. But apparently it's never been identified. It's just unknown parties in every source I see. That seems like a detail you'd want to nail down, like who stole the robot. But,
yeah, I mean, maybe I could see you doing a story about that at some point, but if you're just going to leave it dangle forever, like, what's the point?
Yeah, I'm very confused by it.
One of those mysteries that's like, why is it still a mystery? Like, Rogue's name, like, why did they keep that a secret for so long? It's just going to be like, oh, her name's Anna Marie. Who cares? Like, that's not cool. It's not like, oh, she's Dr. Doom's daughter secretly or something like that.
Her name's just Debbie. She's Debbie. All right, so this Death's Head robot, he gets stolen, and somehow he ends up going through a time portal or something. I don't know. And he ends up in like the 82nd century or something. This is all very confusing. And
time travel involved. I know that much.
And he grows to be like the 30 stories tall, or 30 feet tall, I guess. So he's kind of like as big as the Autobots and the Decepticons, because that's where it comes into play here. But when he went,
like a nurse for Rita Repulsa from the Power Rangers was there, and she made him grow with her magic.
Okay, I don't know what that reference means.
Oh, yeah, you missed out on that era.
Yeah,
that was every episode of Power Rangers, where first they would fight him when they were small, and then she would be like, make my monster grow, and then they would get big, and then they'd call on the Zords, and they'd fight him. Even though they could have just gotten the Zords in the first place, and just fucking, like, destroyed him from giant, from up tall. But
I'll take your word for it. But that's way more than I wanted to know about the Power Rangers, so...
You're lucky to do any Power Rangers comics in the 80s.
Let's take it down about 25% with the Power Rangers, all right? Let's just... All right. But, so this Lupex fella then started to hunt Death's Head because he wanted to get his body back. He needs that robot body. But then eventually, Death's Head kills Lupex.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, cuts off his head.
Fulfill his purpose.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, I think that backstory is added after. But his actual first appearance was for the Transformers UK, and he was initially created as just a throwaway character. Just for one story arc from issues 113 to 120. Basically, Rodimus Prime was like the Autobot leader at the time. And he took, I think he was Hot Rod. And then they called him Rodimus Prime or something. Remember the Hot Rod Transformer? Anyway.
Yeah.
So, he took out a bounty on Galvatron. That doesn't seem like a thing a nice, heroic Autobot would do, take out a bounty on somebody, but.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just sometimes it's warfare, you gotta stoop to some underhanded techniques sometimes.
So Death's Head went after Galvatron, but then like Galvatron and, or the other, somehow they then hired him to go after Rodimus Prime. So it was like he just kept bouncing back and forth between sides, playing both sides. I guess he had to travel back to Earth in 1987 for some reason.
As you do. Good stopping point.
And when he first showed up, the first thing he did was he killed Bumblebee.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I think everybody is.
Learn how to talk. then we'll make you a character.
So yeah, that was his introduction to comic book fans, killing Bumblebee. That story arc was from 113 to 120. Keep in mind, in the Marvel British titles, they were published weekly. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah, like Judge Dredd.
The character proved popular, so Furman brought him back for issues 133 and 134, and then for another stint from 146 to 151. Another interesting little detail about this is that when you introduced a character to a Transformer book, they immediately became property of Hasbro.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
When they put Death's Head in there, they said, oh, shoot, we better do something about it. So they put little one-page strips through various Marvel UK titles featuring Death's Head, but it was called like High Noon Tex or something like that, or High Noon Rex. I forget. I should have looked that up. But so I guess that was a way to get around, so they said they had the rights to the character. I don't know. So they were able to make...
come out before the Transformers appearance then?
That's the thing that was questionable, because every description I read said it came out after the Transformers appearance.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like... it seems like some terrible legal advice to be like, oh yeah, you put something in afterwards, that'll count.
A little shady on the details there, but I don't know. They kept the rights to him, so Hasbro didn't get the rights to Death's Head, so whatever they did worked. All right, so after that final appearance in Transformers UK there in issue 151, he then went through a time portal, and he next popped up in Doctor Who magazine, issue 135 in April 1988. And Doctor Who tricked him somehow, and he shrunk him down to like a normal size. I think Death's like 7 feet tall in our world.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Still pretty tall, but
it was
not
all
Transformer sized.
It was all that Doctor Who. So he tricked him somehow. And then he next appeared in a book called Dragon's Claws, issue 5, November 1988. This was also a Marvel UK title written by Simon Furman. So, and that series lasted 10 issues. And coincidentally, Death's Head got his own series, and it lasted 10 issues.
Yeah. A real round number there.
Furman said the reason why he thinks that the titles didn't last that long is because British retailers were not used to the US-sized dimensions on comic books. They published the big magazine formats, so like they didn't properly know how to display them or at their stores, you know? They kind of out of place. So he says that hurt the Marvel UK titles there, the comic book.
You don't ever confuse the consumer. That's not what they're used to. They get pretty angry.
So in 1990, Death's Head appeared in issues 13 through 20 of Marvel UK's mature anthology book called Strip.
Ooh,
it does
that sound good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the United States, Death's Head popped up a few more times. The Fantastic Four had appeared in issue 9 of Death's Head's series. So then Death's Head returned the favor there. He appeared in Fantastic Four 338 in March of 1990. And then he appeared in issue 24 of the sensational She-Hulk in February of 91. And issue 76 of Marvel Comics Presents in May of 91.
Yeah, that's that's during the whole Weapon X, like Wolverine thing.
Oh.
He's in the little corner box, a little Death's Head in one of those issues. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah. Paul Neary took over as editor-in-chief of Marvel UK in 1991. Do you remember Paul Neary?
Yeah, I definitely remember that name.
Yeah, he's synonymous with Alan Davis. He inked a lot of Alan Davis stuff. But he took over as editor-in-chief. He didn't like Death's Head. He thought the character's look was outdated. And it kind of, remember this is early 90s where everything was
more
gritty.
extreme.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Bigger guns, a lot more pouches.
So he worked with artist Liam Sharp to redesign the character, and it gave him like a Predator-inspired look.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you, it is a pretty good-looking character.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. I remember seeing that like in advertisements for like other comics back in the day in like the 90s, and I was like, oh, who the hell is this? This guy's amazing looking.
Because the initial Death's Head, would you like to describe him, Jank?
I think he's pretty cool too, to be honest, but it's definitely goofier. He's got like a robot head, with like, it's mostly chrome, but then it's got red kind of metallic horns, like devil horns coming off the sides.
Yeah.
And the front of his face kind of looks like a gas mask is probably the best way to describe it. It's got like little tiny eyes and then like a big kind of like a gas mask type of jaw where it kind of juts out and it's kind of just smooth. And he's got like a little like yellow teeth in the front, like where the triangle part of the gas mask is. But then he's also below that, he's got a big jaw. His jaw below the teeth has like it's pronounced. It's very pronounced, sticks out further than the front of his like teeth. And he's got these giant like fangs on either side. So he's got two giant fangs in like his lower lip there.
Yeah, so it's a distinctive look, but it is a little goofier, like cartoony kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, when you look at him, you don't really feel afraid so much as like, oh, this is going to be a fun time.
And his outfit is also like, doesn't he have a cape and stuff too? And,
yeah. Yeah.
But Death's Head 2, the second version that Paul Neary and Liam Sharp did, he looks like a badass. He's real like yoked up, and his face,
very skull-like face. It's kind of got like skin stretched over it. It's like crazy looking.
And the first Death's Head, one of his gimmicks is that he has a removable right hand, and he can put like a gun there, or like a battle mace or an axe or something. So Death's Head 2 has something similar, but his hand is very cool looking. It's all like sharp knives and edges and stuff. It's pretty cool. I don't know what it could do. I guess it could shoot lasers and stuff. I don't know. Whatever it could do. But
make toast.
It looks pretty cool. So that was Death's Head 2. And the new version was launched, and that robot's name was Minion, I guess. that Death's Head. He was a cyborg named Minion.
Yeah.
And
but he got Death's Head's like personality implanted into that body,
well,
I think, right?
The lady who created, I think her name was Evelyn Stecker or something like that, and apparently she worked for AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, in like 2020, which we've already passed. How about that? We've already shot past it. But at the time, it's 30 years in the future. But she worked there, and she developed this cyborg Death's Head 2 minion robot, and when it killed somebody, it could assimilate its mind and its scales. So she made like a hit list of 105 targets that she wanted the robot to go kill. And then like it would get its memories and experiences and learn as it's killing people.
Yeah.
And one of the people it killed in its first issue, it killed the first Death's Head.
Yeah.
And it cut off its head. But when it assimilated its personality, the original Death's Head personality was like fighting for control of the new body. So it's kind of like a mix of old and new. And apparently, I think one of the last people he was supposed to kill was Reed Richards.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't think that
was not so much on that one.
But this Death's Head 2 proved very popular, and it got its own. It had a 4-issue limited series, and then it had an ongoing series that lasted 16 issues. But Death's Head 2 was Marvel's UK's best-selling export title, with one issue selling over 500,000 copies. That's big numbers back then. But what killed Death's Head 2, though, was the whole comic book industry implosion in 1993. Like, everything just kind of tanked. And I think its final issue sold like 7,000 copies. So from 500,000 to 7,000. It's worse than the show. The drop in listeners for the show.
Those numbers are still probably better than they are now. So they're killed to go back.
But Simon Furman was not the writer of that series, and he never really liked it because he said like the character lost its gallows humor, is how he described it. So,
yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's definitely a tonal shift away from the kind of campy goofiness of this series to something that's just kind of like X-Force.
Yeah, I think Death's Head 2 was like more heroic. Like the first Death's Head was just a bounty hunter out for his own interests, like to make money or whatever. And the second guy's more like a hero, like a hardcore, gritty hero guy.
I mean, he looks so much more badass. You would expect him to be more the
yeah, I know. You would think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 1993, Furman got to write issue 54 of What If, and in that story, it was what if Death's Head defeated Minion and cut off his head.
Nice.
Maybe go back and read that there, Jank, if you like the Death's Head.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah.
So in 2005, Marvel posted a poll on its website asking fans what character they would like to see featured in the relaunched Amazing Fantasy title. I had no idea they relaunched Amazing Fantasy. Are you aware of this?
I remember them doing it in the 90s, and there was a couple of actually like new Spider-Man stories. Like I think they did like a 16, 17, and 18. And they were just more Spider-Man stories set way back in the day. I didn't remember them doing it again in the 2000s.
Yeah, and this was just all new characters and stuff. So they wanted people to vote on who they would like to see featured, and the choices were Wood God, Wondar the Aquarian, the Texas Twister, and Death's Head.
Wow, what a murderer's row of choices. I mean, how do you choose?
We've never read any of those other folks. We've got to check a Wood God book. But Death's Head won the vote with 49%.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was supposedly a very popular part of Marvel UK.
So Furman was brought in to write the story, which ran from issue 16 to 20. But the character was billed as Death's Head 3.0 and apparently had no connection to the other's backstory.
So okay.
That's a little strange.
They're just like, we can't deal with all this continuity. Just toss it out. We're starting over.
Death's Head returned to the main Marvel universe in the 2009 series Sword, written by Kieran Gillen.
Yeah, that's right. Sword is, of course, the space version of S.H.I.E.L.D., essentially. They're there to protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats.
Did you read this series?
I think I did, yeah.
Do you remember
I definitely
Death's
read. Yes. I do remember him also popping up in Kieran Gillen's Iron Man run, where Iron Man was in space a lot. I remember Death's Head popped up there quite a bit.
Oh, all right, how about that? He made a few more, Death's Head made a few more appearances in various titles after that before getting his own 4-issue limited series again in 2019.
Oh,
That's pretty recent.
that one. Yeah.
So there you go. There's your Death's Head history.
I do remember there was a big, like, Marvel UK kind of, let's bring back Marvel UK event, like, crossover event comic in, like, I don't know when, like 2012, somewhere around there, called, like, Revolutionary War. It was just a series of one-shots, basically. But I do remember there was an issue that on the cover, Death's Head is fighting Death's Head 2.
Oh.
So I believe they kind of got to hash it out in there. And I think eventually team up.
Well, let's talk about the creators here real quick, because I don't have much on either of them. But Simon Furman was born in 1961 in Surrey, England, and he wrote a ton of Transformers UK. But like between issues 13 and 332, he wrote a lot.
Damn.
I don't know the exact number. Easily over 100, I would say. And again, that was a weekly book, so it's kind of the stories.
Holy hell.
Well, I guess the stories are shorter, you know, like the Judge Dredd stuff. How long were those? 10 pages or whatever?
Yeah, that's true.
So he also did Death's Head issues 1 through 7, 9, and 10. He skipped issue 8 for some reason. And he did Dragon's Claws 1 through 10. He did Transformers US issues 56 through 80, and a bunch of other Transformers spinoffs, like Beast Wars and all that kind of stuff. He did all those. Of course.
Yeah, once you're in the Transformers family, you'll be working for life. Michael Bay could just do those the rest of his life, I'm sure.
He did RoboCop issues 12 through 23. Sensational She-Hulk 24 to 27, and then issue 47. Alpha Flight 110 to 112, and then he came back for 114 to 130, and he was the final writer on that on the series Alpha Flight. So,
hey,
pretty cool. And he did the North Star 4-issue miniseries, and he did 10 issues of What If. But maybe his most other impressive achievement in comic books is he wrote the 4-issue limited series Brute Force. If you go on Disney Plus, they used to have this show called Marvel 616, I think it was called, or something. But they just explored different weird little aspects of the Marvel universe, like little half-hour documentary kind of deals or whatever. But there was one hosted by Paul Scheer of The League, you know. And he wanted to make a movie of a forgotten Marvel comic, and he found Brute Force. Because this... do you remember this now?
I know what this is.
Yeah. Here's the description from the Marvel website.
Those characters appeared in a Deadpool annual not that long ago.
Okay. Well, here's the description from the Marvel website. Reckless the bear, Soar the eagle, Surfstreak the dolphin, Hip Hop the kangaroo, and Lionheart the, you guessed it, lion. Meet the cybernetically enhanced protectors of the environment, Brute Force. They're fighting to save the Earth, whether you ask them to or not. So, that's right.
Yep. And they literally are just animals in like little robot suits. Pretty great.
So he wrote all 4 issues of Brute Force. We might have to check that out at some point.
Was that 80s or 90s?
I don't know.
Thinking that was probably 90s.
Yeah, it does sound like a 90s book.
Yeah. That's when comics were crashing. Like, just throw anything at the wall. Put animals in costumes.
All right, so this is Simon Furman. That's all I got. Did you ever encounter Simon Furman anywhere else?
I don't think so, no. At least nothing that stuck. Ooh,
and the artist here...
1990.
Just missed it. All right. So the artist here is Bryan Hitch, and he drew issues 1 through 3, 7, and 10. Bryan Hitch was also, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but he was the guy who did the one-page comic strip with Furman of High Noon Tex or Rex or whatever his name was, so they could get the rights. Yeah. So Bryan Hitch, we've talked about before in the show. I can't remember when exactly. I think it may have been the Doctor Who thing we did years ago.
Oh, did he do that?
He did one issue of Doctor Who, and I think that may have been why Mike L picked it back in the day. Was because I think. But Mike L was a huge Bryan Hitch fan. I am not. His work here is different, though. We'll talk about it later.
Yes, this is quite different. This is pretty much unrecognizable as Bryan Hitch, I would say.
But what do you? Most people know him from the Ultimates. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I guess the Authority. Also, they know him from that. That's more of a DC, or I think that may have been Wildstorm or something. But he was big on there, and then he kind of took that same kind of style over to the Ultimates when Marvel did the Ultimates, was basically the ultimate version of the Avengers. And by that point, his stuff had started to look, I don't know if I would say it's amazing, but it definitely looked cinematic, which really worked for that comic when it was really trying to set up this whole new version of the Avengers that would end up informing the movies quite a bit. So it definitely hit the mark in that regard.
Yeah, I've never read the Ultimates, but that's basically a lot of the movies, right? Just come from those books.
Yeah, definitely parts of it. I mean, definitely there's some weird stuff in there as well that they did not go for, which is nice. They took some swings. But definitely there are certain parts that like, oh yeah, this definitely informed the movies for sure. Like Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury and stuff like that. I think there was an issue like literally like in one of the early issues of the Ultimates, they're talking about like who would play them in the movie, and Nick Fury's just like Samuel L. Jackson, obviously. And then we got it.
Well, there you go. All right. So, anything else you wanted to say about Bryan Hitch?
Yeah, Bryan Hitch, I have a complicated history with because in the 90s, they had him do some X-Men stuff like X-Men Prime when they came back from the Age of Apocalypse. And, he would kind of fill in on Uncanny X-Men during the time that Joe Madureira, my favorite artist, was doing it. So obviously something that was drastically different, like Bryan Hitch, with that doing a random issue here and there just would drive me crazy. Like, yeah. I hated it. Especially his style at that time was so wrinkly and just gross. And I'm like, I hate every part of this.
Wrinkly and gross.
It just was appalling. And so obviously I hated him at the time, but by the time he got to the Ultimates, I was like, all right, I get it now.
All right, Jake, so let's look at the cover. Why don't you describe it? Well, you already described his face, and that's pretty much all this cover is, but why don't you describe it for the people?
So we got the Death's Head logo. It's pretty cool. Got kind of a futuristic-looking font there. It's all in blue, outlined in white. And next to the head, it's actually got a kind of a silhouette of his head with red eyes and red nostrils and stuff like that. And it's all done in black, so that's pretty cool looking. We got the corner box there with a good shot of Death's Head. I'm not sure who did that drawing quite like Bryan Hitch, but maybe it is. Who knows? UK price, 60 pence?
That's pence. That's right. 60 pence.
All right. $1.75 over here in the US. Ouch. Got a big orange cover. Just kind of has a bunch of lines, explosion lines on it, basically. And Death's Head is there. He is holding a bomb that is conveniently labeled bomb.
Yeah.
It's black, it's got a fuse, and you can obviously tell it's a bomb, but they make it, right in the nose by printing bomb on it in big red letters. And he's holding it and kind of, stroking his chin, being like, think someone's out to get me, yes? Because he kind of talks like the guidance counselor guy in Clockwork Orange who was coming to see little Alex.
I don't remember that.
Always answering everything with yes.
Yeah, kind of like a French waiter is what I always think. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why, but that's what I think of. But yeah, so it's kind of a fun cover there. Yeah. You're looking at this cover, and you can get there's humor in here. There's probably a lot of jokes and whatnot, and I don't know. It's a pretty good cover.
It's kind of Looney Tunesy, yeah.
Sorry, we opened it up. Stan Lee presents Death's Head. Oh, I should mention that when Death's Head first was published in Marvel UK or whatever, Stan Lee sent him a letter saying how much he enjoyed the character. I think in that first Transformers book or whatever. I don't know. One of the days. But Stan Lee, apparently a fan of Death's Head.
That's pretty cool. I wonder what he thought of Death's Head too.
I don't know. All right, so we see a spaceship flying here on the big splash page. Shot by Both Sides is the name of this issue. And this spaceship is orange. And how would you describe it? I don't know.
It kind of looks like the Starjammer a little bit, at least in my memory.
Don't remember that at all.
But it's kind of got
maybe like a metal duck,
like a shuttlecraft almost. Yeah, that's a good description.
Because the neck and then the body and the head, something like that. Yeah, who cares? All right, so the ship's flying, and the only voice is saying rats. Yes. So of course it ends in yes. It's Death's Head talking.
Always anything was with yes or a or huh or hmm.
How do you feel about this though? Because we turn the page here, and the first time we see Death's Head in this book, it's a profile shot, just a small panel on the left of the page. How do you feel about that? I just kind of think the first time you see the main character, it should be.
You want a good hero shot?
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. You can't start every story like that. Otherwise, that's, I guess, why DC was doing those things. They would start with a splash page just to give you a taste of the hero. But
at least
sometimes
have
stories
him,
don't start out that way.
at least have him like looking into the camera, you know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that. That's fair critique.
Not a fan of
Because
this.
they want to give you some idea of the spatial, depth of his face.
I suppose. But yeah, this spaceship he's flying, it's crashing. He doesn't seem to know how to pilot it. Did he borrowed this ship or he stole it, or it's not his normal ship, is it?
I think he had it recreated, I think. He was like, I want, let me see. This is something about like he spent a lot of money to get this thing made just like his old ship.
Okay. But it's like crashing down into this city. And again, I don't know what year we're in here, but it's in the future.
Yeah. We're in some like Los Angeles settlement. Which I don't know, is it actually Los Angeles or we're on like the moon or something and they just call this like New Los Angeles?
Yeah. So there's people on like a tour bus and the spaceship's coming right for them, but it scrapes the top and it like cuts off the roof of the tour bus there. And people are like, oh, what's going on? You know?
Tour guide's like, oh, we're the only place to never have a single accident. And then they're like, oh, you're going to have to change your speech now. Wah, wah.
So Death's Head is mad. He's hitting the dashboard of his little spaceship there, and he's trying to get it to fly right. And eventually it just crashes, right? Isn't that what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he takes out the car of the guy who set the bombs on his ship in the first place.
Yeah, and this guy looks like Dora the Explorer.
Yeah. Yes. Same haircut, yeah.
Although he doesn't have a
big
cool
old
monkey
earring and the one
wearing boots.
Yeah. Sadly, no.
This guy's name, I think, is Short Fuse, I
Mhm.
believe. And he's been hired to try and kill Death's Head.
Yeah. So he's planted a bunch of bombs, and he seems to keep setting them off at just the wrong time.
And Death's
Not
Head,
so good to know where to place them.
Death's Head does not know this guy's trying to kill him. Like he assumes someone's sabotaging him whatnot, but he doesn't know it's this guy, right? He has no idea.
Nope. Yeah, he's got no clue. Bounty hunter, so he's got a lot of enemies.
Yeah, I think what the backstory here is there were two like crime bosses, and Death's Head I don't know if it was accidental, but he murdered one of the guys who worked for the one crime boss named the Undertaker. Yeah.
Oh, did he? I thought the Undertaker is the guy that we see here.
We see the Undertaker like later on, yes. Well, he didn't murder he murdered one of the Undertaker's guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
One of the Undertaker. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like Paul Bearer to the Undertaker. That's a wrestling nerd show.
Yeah. Even I did that.
So the Undertaker's mad at Death's Head now, and he wants to kill Death's Head, so he hires his guy to kill Death's Head. But
yeah, his guy's Big Shot.
Yeah, his guy's Big Shot. We'll meet later. He's a guy with a gun on his arm. It seems to be a common theme in a lot of the Death's Head people. But the other rival crime lord, he hired his own guy to kill Death's Head before Big Shot kills Death's Head. So you got two guys coming after Death's Head.
Yeah, because the Undertaker wants to reclaim his power by taking out the guy that took out his guy. So if the other crime lord can kill Death's Head first, then he doesn't get that chance, and he always just looks like a loser.
Yeah, because he's like embarrassed that Death's Head killed his guy or whatever. Also, while this is going on, Death's Head is hunting down a criminal named Photo Fit.
Yeah.
So that's
a lot of moving parts in this issue.
Yeah. So that's basically the plot here. Death's Head is hunting a guy down that he has a bounty on, and then two other people are trying to kill Death's Head. That's what we're dealing with here. All right. Oh, and hey, look, then we see Big Shot. Look at him.
Yep.
His big old gun. All right, Jank. Well, why don't you walk us through this, because I don't know what the hell's going on.
So we get a shot of Big Shot. He's meeting with the Undertaker, and they're talking about, you got to get out there, make him fear me again, Big Shot. And the author of my defeat must be seen to die spectacularly. And he gets Big Shot all riled up, and he starts like salivating. He's like so happy about taking out Death's Head. Because he is also a bounty hunter. So once he takes out Death's Head, not only does he get this bounty on him, but he also is going to get all of Death's Head's customers. So this is a good deal for him.
Yeah. And then the Undertaker, he's not like the wrestling Undertaker. He's a little fella, but he's dressed similar, kind of, with a hat. And...
Yeah, he's kind of gaunt and like yellow, and yeah, he looks very ill.
Now, the next crime boss we meet, he's meeting with Short Fuse. And
this guy's great.
His name is Dead Cert, I believe. And why don't you describe for the people what this guy looks like?
This guy's amazing. This guy's a horseman. He's got the head of a horse, kind of the body of a man, essentially. He's wearing a purple robe. He's got like pants and then like a red belt and red boots. And he's just smoking and just shooting smoke out of his, horse nostrils. And it's pretty great. Like Tuffy, our buddy who loves smoking darts, we love this guy.
My question though is this dead cert. Why does he have like the harness on his head? Like that would have the reins attached to, like.
I mean, he's probably got a lady coming over.
But yeah, so he's telling Short Fuse there. And Short Fuse is again Dora the Explorer.
They're about the same height, yeah.
And he's saying, hey, you better go kill Death's Head. You better get him. 'Cause I'm tired. You're a bumbler.
He's like, well, could I borrow a car? Because his car got loaded.
So now we see Photo Fit show up, and when he lands his little spaceship, a security guard comes over, and Photo Fit just kills him and steals his face. Kind of like, the Chameleon in Spider-Man, he's all like makeup and effects and stuff, right?
Yeah. He's kind of like the T-1000 from Terminator 2.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can just take on whatever appearance he wants. So now he looks like the security guard, That makes it tough to track him down if you're a bounty hunter, because he can change what he looks like all the time. All right, so now we see Death's Head, and he's outside his burning ship now, and his buddy Sprat is there. Are you familiar with Sprat?
Not really, other than the fact that I flipped through most of these issues trying to figure out which one to pick, so I've seen a lot of Sprat, but yeah, I guess he was just like a member of, I think, that Dragon Claws gang, or some gang that ended up getting arrested. But
not the Dragon's Claws. Basically what happened is Dragon's Claws, they beat the hell out of Death's Head, and he got real damaged. I think a building fell on him and something like that. So this Sprat fella, he found Death's Head, and he repaired him. So he helped him, get back up on his feet there. So they became chums, and now he's like his sidekick. So his Bucky to Death's Head Captain America, basically.
His Rick Jones.
You ruined it.
Jones is the greatest thing to happen in the Marvel universe.
So Death's Head, and they're looking for Photo Fit, and they think he went into like a TV studio.
And they're kind of confused, like, wait, why would he's trying to get out of the country so that we can't get him. Why would he go to a TV studio? I guess it's a show called Run to Rio, so maybe I guess that's his plan. He's going to run to Rio.
But then that big shot fella almost kills Death's Head. He blows up a car next to Death's Head. And
he's going to shoot Death's Head, but at the last second, a bomb goes off in that car that Death's Head was walking towards, and Short Fuse was the one who set off that bomb. So
okay.
He messed it up, and he, obviously then Big Shot wasn't able to shoot him because it blew Death's Head back, and the shot ended up missing him. So they both kind of went for it at the same time and messed up each other's thing.
And, of course, Death's Head says 3 times is enemy action, yes? So he's like, yeah, this isn't a coincidence anymore. Someone's trying to kill me. And he sees there's Big Shot, there's Short Fuse. Now we cut back to the TV studio, and look, we get to see some side boob there on a lady in a bikini.
Yeah. Pretty nice.
And Sprat is looking for Photo Fit throughout the TV studio, but he's like, how am I going to find a guy who can change his face? And then he walks by this little cabinet that says "Do not open," and he says, "Wait a minute,
strictly do not open."
Why'd you say that? Because now I gotta open it because I'm Sprat. I'm a troublemaker. So he opens it up, and a dead body comes tumbling out.
Oops.
And he's like, hey, wait a minute. This is probably Photo Fit. So Photo Fit probably stole this guy's face. So if I just find someone who looks like this dead guy, that's Photo Fit. Mm-hmm. That's good. It's good thinking.
Solid reasoning. So he goes running off trying to find this guy, and he accidentally stumbles into the studio, and they assume he's supposed to be the next contestant on the show. And they're like, oh, hey, get on up here. You're the next contestant on Run to Rio. He's like, wait, my name's Sprat, and they just kind of suck him into it.
There's a big toothy game show host smiling at him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then Death's Head gets punched right through a wall. Big Shot is standing in the hole in the wall, and he's about to shoot Death's Head again. But this was a little confusing.
Yeah, there's an explosion behind Big Shot, which I assume was caused by Short Fuse yet again.
Yes. And then but it's because then he's jumping in the next panel. It looks like he's controlling his jump perfectly.
Well, I think he's trying to make the best of it.
Yeah.
If you're being flung towards the guy, you might as well turn it into an attack.
So he starts fighting Death's Head, and they start wrestling around on the ground. And then Death's Head flips him over his head, with his legs there. And we get a panel very similar to that one of Jack of Hearts last issue, with his butt up in the air. Do you see that? He's flipping
I can see that.
Yeah. And but Big Shot shoots at Death's Head and misses him. He hits some other guy. Oh, he hits the actor because they're making like they crashed into like a film set. They're doing like a superhero show or something. And, yeah. Big Shot shoots the actor. Then they're still fighting, and Short Fuse is there, and he's like, I got to get this bomb onto Death's Head, but it's like a magnet bomb. So what happens here, Jack?
Yeah, this magnetic cluster bomb will stick to Death's head like, it sticks to his own belt instead.
Yeah.
Didn't realize his belt's made of metal.
But he throws the belt.
Explore it. Apparently I learned a lot. She's going to need people from the audience to yell things at the TV so she learns.
But Dora does take the belt off and throw it at Death's Head and Big Shot, and we see a big fadoom. And then we cut back to the game show, and Sprat is doing quite well on the game show, and he's about to win, but the contestant he's playing against pulls out a gun and says he's going to kill him.
Yep. And it turns out that it's the guy who, is photo fit. He's got the same glasses and the same purple outfit, so you're like, oh yeah, this is photo fit.
And just before he can kill him, though, Death's Head and Big Shot come crashing through the wall, and the photo fit guy goes taking off, but he had seen Death's Head, so he transforms himself into Death's Head.
Mm-hmm.
It's photo fit.
Seems like a good idea at the time. Yeah. Until Short Fuse comes in. And it's like, oh boy, it's Death's Head. Now I can take you out. He's like, wait, I'm not really Death's Head. I'm this other guy. And he starts to show him his like real face, but it's too late. He's already got a bomb, and they both kind of blow up. Yeah, because like Short Fuse is like so confused, he forgets to defuse the bomb or something, and they both blow up. What's the opposite? Yeah.
And just Big Shot's about to shoot Death's Head again one final time, but then that's when the explosion happens, and it sends Big Shot out the window, and he goes crashing to the street. And Death's Head and Sprat are okay, and they look down at him. Do your Death's Head imitation here and read this.
So much for the competition, yes?
It's funny, isn't it?
What?
How things kept exploding.
Not for Big Shot and Photo Fit, huh?
They certainly weren't game for a laugh, eh? Oh, wait, that was Death's Head. I thought that was Sprat. That's my bad. But then Death's Head says, now let's see if we can find enough of Photo Fit to claim a reward on, Soon we cut and we see the security showing up, and they're looking for Big Shot in the street. They see a pool of blood. And they're like, there's no way he could survive. But we see Big Shot crawling away in the rain there, and he says, now it's personal. So he's really going to go get Death's Head. And that's it. That's Death's Head issue 7.
Yeah. I wonder if this ever picks up again, because I think after this he encounters Doctor Who again. And then he goes back in time and sees the Fantastic Four. And then the last issue, he's in like 2020 fighting Iron Man of 2020. So I don't know that this ever pays off. Is there ever a rematch between Big Shot and Death's Head?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to do some research. No, I'm done. I've done enough research. Death's Head. I'm not doing it anymore.
No, about Death's Head.
But what did you think of the writing here by Simon Furman?
Overall, I thought it was pretty good. Not perfect by any means. I think the whole Sprat being on a game show was a little too much. Like, if you're going to do a game show parody, that's cool, but maybe make it when you have time to actually show what the game show is. Like, there's a lot of cool game show parodies you could do, and they have done in like near future settings. Like RoboCop's done a bunch, and obviously Running Man and stuff like that. So you got to take some time if you're going to do an idea like that. I feel like, instead of just cramming it into a couple of panels and a side story almost. But overall, I like the idea of, these two competing bounty hunters trying to take out Death's Head, and they keep messing each other up. I thought that was fun. I wouldn't say we learned a whole lot about Death's Head in this comic. Luckily we did that research. It wouldn't have given us a good idea of who he was or what he's all about necessarily in here, other than, bounty hunting, which I guess is kind of his main thing anyway. But overall, I didn't have any major complaints.
That would probably be my biggest problem with it, is I still don't feel like I know who Death's Head is, really. Basically, he's just getting beat up a lot of this, and then things keep exploding around him. There's no like signature thing like, oh, well, that's Death's Head. I know who he is now. But
yeah, that's true.
Also,
kind of a series of unfortunate events that basically keep happening.
I like the he's very passive throughout all this. I like the yes gimmick he has to his dialogue, you know? I like that.
Yeah.
But I don't like that he also says huh and a lot of times too. Like I would lose those and just stick with yes. Like that's his tag.
Every sentence, yes.
It doesn't have to be everyone, but like that's the only one of those little tags I would use. Cause like yes, huh, and it gets a little much. But
I like when I think when the ship was exploding, like the first time, he says something like, "Oh, you want me to do this?" And he's like, "No, yes."
Yeah, see, it's a good little gimmick.
His sentence.
Just sprinkle in a few of those each issue, but lose the Hans and the and stuff like that. I mean, it's fine. There's some humor in here, but nothing like real funny. I don't think.
No, I'm not gonna say it was like laugh out loud or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I like the tone, the general tone of just kind of goofiness and madcappery.
So there you go. What about Bryan Hitch? Because you mentioned this is not like normal Bryan Hitch, and this is clearly influenced by Alan Davis in some of these panels. Yeah,
very Alan Davis, maybe even a little Gary Frank, but definitely I saw no Bryan Hitch in this. Like, I think if you would have given me a bunch of guesses, I don't think I would have gotten it had I not read it.
Yeah, I didn't mind the art. Like I said, I thought some of the storytelling could have been cleaner. Like there were some times I didn't know what was happening. Like that one explosion behind him was a little weird. And again, open up with an actual shot of Death's Head, not a profile from a third of a page panel. Come on.
Yeah, that's fair.
Give the reader something.
I guess throughout the whole comic, you don't really see a whole lot of Death's Head. So.
Like on that opening splash page, like maybe you have that ship crashing, maybe put an insert, you know, like a floating panel up there of Death's Head staring right at the camera, like trying to control the ship or something. That's another way to do it.
That's fair.
But so it's fine. It wasn't awful. It was perfectly serviceable, you know. And again, very Alan Davis-y.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, the faces look good. The game show host guy, like that was some cool detail on that guy, making him look extra like douchey.
So yeah, no big complaints here. What do you think, Death's Head? Would you read more of Death's Head?
Yeah, I think I would. I don't know that I actually will. It's like one of those things where I probably will never have time to do so, but in theory, I think I would. Compared to Jack of Hearts, for sure. Like, I would rather read more of this than I would of just guy crying in his little room all night.
Well, we didn't really get much of Death's Head. Who knows? Maybe he likes to cry in his room all night, too. We just didn't see it in this issue.
I mean, I like to cry in my room all night, too. I guess that's why I don't want to read about it.
Yeah, you live it. You don't need to read about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably won't read anymore. I don't know, because he could be a cool character, but I just didn't get a sense of him at all in this issue. So maybe I should read more to maybe learn.
Yeah. Maybe this wasn't the gateway drug, but yeah.
There's a lot of Sprat, there's a lot of Short Fuse and Big Shot, and a lot of other people. Not a lot of Death's Head, really. Not a lot of Death's Head.
That's true. It looked like more, but yeah, it turns out not as much as I thought.
So what do you think? 1 out of 10?
I'd give it a solid 7, I think. It's up there. I don't really have any complaints about it. I had a good time.
I'll give it a 6. I'm a little less enthusiastic, but it's still a positive review.
The art was good. I thought it was overall a fun time. Didn't drag at all, so that's all I'm looking for.
All right, so there is Death's Head from Marvel UK. All right, you picked a book about a bounty hunter with a metal head. I'm going to pick a book about a kung fu fighter with an iron fist. That's right. We're doing Iron Fist. We're going to go issue 8, 1976. I was waiting
for that to be a setup or something random like. No, it's not Iron Fist. Something else.
Yeah, because we've done Power Man and Iron Fist, and we've done a Power Man book. We've never done just a strictly Iron Fist book, and I've never read any solo Iron Fist stories. So I figure this will be a good chance to talk about his title that he had in the 70s there, because I think it lasted 14 issues. And the writer here is Chris Claremont, and the artist is John Byrne.
Oh.
So yeah, this is right.
It has like Sabretooth in it, is it?
This is not that issue. I believe that issue is 14, maybe somewhere around there. And we're doing issue 8. There's a pretty cool cover of him on the front, just punching at the camera. So yeah, but this
I hope it can live up to the great heights of the Netflix show.
Yeah. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah, Iron Fist. He's I don't know. Well, we'll get into it next week because I kind of like Iron Fist, but then I don't like Iron Fist. It's tough.
Well, you always like characters that you show off their chest a lot.
I like street level guys who punch. So this is right up my alley.
That is his thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Not Iron Foot. He's Iron Fist. God damn it.
Fist. But this story, this series, of course, it also featured like Misty Knight and Colleen Wing and everything. So we'll talk about all those people.
Even when he's in his solo book, he can't be solo. They're like, no one cares about Iron Fist that much.
So we'll get into that. We'll talk about Claremont and Byrne and how this figures into the X-Men timeline and everything. But so, all right, that's next week. Iron Fist issue 8. And be sure and leave us some comments if you have any questions or you'd like answered about Iron Fist next week here on the big show.
I'm sure there are so many.
So many unanswered questions. All right, so there it is. Until next week, don't get any jank on you.